parking. What's the parking situation and the options for parking?
Yeah, so we have a couple different parking scenarios, and some of it actually is going to depend on the weather and what the weather ends up doing, because if it gets saturated out there, it changes some of the parking availability. I was going to show my map here. Let me see if I can pull this up on the screen just so folks can see this. Share my screen. All right. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Oops. Go back. All right. Everybody will be coming in where my cursor is here off Sky Valley Road. And when you come in early in the morning, you're going to be directed to keep going down Sky Valley Road past the brand new Guyon Farm parking area. And you will come way down here, and there's a little side road here where there'll be a course marshal, parking volunteer, and parking signs. And you will come down through the woods, and then you will park up in this field. Once all of that gets filled, we will move folks to park off of Buck Forest Road, and you will come in by the vendor area and park in this section. So those are the two main parking areas. The other lots are designated for the festival, not for runners. And parking A, Guyon Farms, the new parking area, is the visitor parking for the guests that are just coming to DuPont that day. So there's no parking there for runners for the event. So those are the couple parking areas. We highly recommend that you carpool. So meet your friend somewhere along the way, hop in, preferably a truck or an SUV. This is going to be parking on uneven ground. I would leave your sports cars at home.
And minivans.
And minivans. If you have that friend you can carpool with, and they've got the Jeep or the SUV or the Ford F-150, hop in that vehicle, because you're going to be parking on rocky, rooted, uneven ground. Even if it's raining, that's going to be the scenario. So it's not going to be a nice, pristine parking lot. We're in the woods. We've got a lot of people to park. So the more people you can cram in before you even get up to Sky Valley Road in your vehicle, the better. So the more you can help with that, the better we'll be able to add participants for next year's event. So please take the effort. I know it's early in the morning, but please carpool with people. And then, yeah, let me see. And then if there is inclement weather, just follow our social media page, TreeTops, Facebook event page, our IDAF page. If you opted in for text messages when you registered, we'll send out a text message if something changes when it comes to the parking situation. We have multiple backup plans in case of inclement weather. In case we can't park out there at all, there will be a change. We're not going to go into all of that today, but just know that there are other things in the works. So make sure that you're tuned in if the weather does look iffy or bad. And if you have not opted in for text messaging, highly recommend that you contact support@idaf.net so that we can change that on your registration, because we all know people, you're not checking your emails. We know because of the questions that we're getting asked, and we're not going to send you text message that is not necessary. We will not do that. So there you go.
All right. Got it. Okay. We're parked in the correct lots. And what's next?
Yeah, so head over to Packet Pickup, get your things. So there'll be porta-johns over close to where the restrooms are at. The restrooms will not be open, the new ones up there. If you've been up to Guyon, they're working on them, but they are not supposed to be ready before the race. So there will be some porta-johns up there. And then you can head over to the start area.
All right. And just a reminder, when you do pick up that race bib, it goes on the front, not on the back. on the front and secure it. A lot of times people tend to only put pins in the top. Make sure you have one on the bottom too, because sometimes when you're coming through, if the wind blows, it flops up your bib and then we can't see your number. So make sure you get those, all 4 pins in there, get that bib secured. All right. You covered restrooms. What about the start and finish line? They're located where?
I'm going to show my screen again here so everybody can see this. Again, just to acquaint yourself, because this is a little bit of a different map. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
So Sky Valley Road is here. That's the way that you guys are coming in. This is that main Guyon guest parking area, the area you won't be able to park. This is the primary parking for you. So that's what that looks like on this map. This is where the festival is at here. So on Buck Forest Road, the pavilion is right here for packet pickup. The start finish is right over here at this intersection. And it's the same start finish for each of the 3 races. Again, the 8.5 mile starts at 8, the 5K at 8:30, and the 1 mile starts at 9:45.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's talk about you. We know that we've got some personal experience here from Allison. Let's talk about the courses. Give us a little bit of background on the courses.
Yes. Yeah, so I just wanted to reiterate, this is a trail race. I know for a trail race, most of the events that we put on are road events, and this is a trail event. There's going to be a mixture of gravel roads, forest roads, dirt roads, single track, bumpy trails. You get a nice mix of that with the events. The most mild event is the 1 mile, and that's intentional because kids and their parents usually do that one. And then the 5K would be the second as far as the challenge level. The 8.5 mile is the most challenging and demanding. And Allison, why don't you tell us a little bit about the 8.5 mile since you ran it recently?
Yeah. So the 8.5 mile, it is challenging. I would definitely suggest looking at that elevation chart, understanding where you are on the map and where the big climbs are, and really setting out a race strategy for this one more than some road races, just because you do have a large climb at the end. And talking from experience, I didn't save enough energy. But honestly, I was telling Daphne the other day, as soon as I finished it, I texted her like, this is the best trail course that I feel like we could have set out. She did an awesome job designing the course to get you that good mixture of trail, road, rest, hills. I will say that this first climb and the first, like, you started about, I don't know, 0.7 and then climbed to just under 2, and that climb almost doesn't feel like a climb. It looks super scary on this map, but it's gradual and it's winding, and the trail there is soft and it's a really well maintained trail. I feel like all the trails out there I was super impressed with. I felt like they're not super rocky. They're made for mountain bikers and for runners. They're not just like a bunch of bike hills where people are going to come careening down at you and things like that, as there's some other trails around in the area that are like that. So I was really impressed with this trail. It's soft, it's nice. You do have to pay attention. It's not going to be not rooty, but it's not overly, I didn't feel as though it was overly technical anywhere. Like I said, the climbs are gradual, even though they look scary. Now this one that Daphne's got her mouse on right here, that one's a little tough just because, but you've just come down a big one. I felt like the hardest one was at the end just because I was out of energy. And I would definitely encourage you guys to look at this as a half marathon or something similar, maybe like more of a 10-mile road run, and bring the hydration and nutrition that you would plan on bringing for this one, because you are climbing, you are in a more dense environment. So it's going to be shaded because it's in the woods, which is super nice. But if it's humid, it's going to be real humid in there. So you might want to really think about your hydration and think about your nutrition and not get stranded out on one of the single tracks, needing that when you have to get back to the aid stations, and you can just have it on you. I'm planning on wearing my whole pack during it. I'm going to be out there with you guys, so I'm excited about that. Love trail running, and I'm super excited about this event. But it's a great course. It's beautiful. Towards the end, where you're about to climb that hill, you get to hear the waterfalls. You don't see them, but you do hear them, which is really cool. We were like, we're close to the falls, and that's fun. Yeah. I don't know, Daphne, was there anything that you wanted me specifically to say about it?
No, I think that's good. I think we do have the 2 water stations. I'm showing them there on the screen, and you'll hit those multiple times. That information's on the event guide as well. But Allison said, if you have something in particular that you like to train with, take your own. If you do get into distress or you have a bad tumble, ask Amy, had a bad tumble on the trail and I was done. My knees were banged up. I got messy. And so if that happens to you, I would suggest you get to one of the water stations on Thomas Cemetery Road. We can always come out and pick you up if you need to be, but those are 2 great points along the course that intersect the road that you can go and you can see us. But if you live in the area and you want to go out and run the route, the cue sheet is on Ride with GPS. I'm showing it here on the screen on the left, so you can see what that looks like. So you can take that cue sheet, you can go out, pre-run, see if you're ready, that sort of thing. That's what I think Allison was doing. And then we have the 5K. Let me just pull that up here. This is the 5K route. And so you run down Buck Forest Road, and then you turn at the water station onto Thomas Cemetery. And this is that hill that Allison said at the end for the 8.5 miles. It's the same hill for the 5K. You come back up to the water station and take a right on Buck Forest and end up there at the finish. So it's a very simple loop for the 5K. 244 feet of elevation. So it's not easy, but not super complicated. So it's a nice loop in the woods. And so that's what that looks like. So yeah, definitely acquaint yourselves with the maps. And if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I bit off more than I can chew, you can always switch to the 5K. What's the deadline for that, Amy?
September 17th at midnight. Yeah, Sunday, September 17th.
Yeah, there's no shame in dropping down to the 5K. The 5K is going to be a great event, a great run, and you can always do the 8.5 mile next year. But, this isn't an event that you can walk the whole thing. There is a time cutoff of 10:15. So you need to be jogging it. You need to be on the move on the 8.5 mile run. And with it being 1,000 feet of climbing, it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, I would suggest too, if you have a Garmin that you can load the course into, I did that and it was super helpful. I know we're going to have signs out there and everything, but there's always like a little bit of a second guess, especially if you get out there by yourself, because you are going to be more spread out in the trail. Definitely, even if you need to email us to ask us how to do it, I can send you the instructions. But it was really helpful to have that on my watch. And I was like, okay, this way we're going. So
yeah, we'll have arrows at all the turns. We'll have some course marshals out there. We'll have some sweepers walking behind the last runners. We'll have some lead bikers. We have people out there. You're not going to be alone in the woods. So if that's one of your fears, don't have that fear, because you will not be alone in the woods. Take things that you might need and have them on you.
All right. And so we all know that you're famous for your stinker hills, but with
Yes.
nearly 1,000 feet of elevation gain, that 8.5
A
miles.
couple.
Yeah.
Couple
Wow.
boozies. Yeah, I think both of them have some stinker hills on there, but that's part of DuPont as well. It's part of trail running, and we're not running on trails in Florida. We're running on trails in Western North Carolina.
Absolutely.
That's what makes trail running fun, because you get to go down the hills.
Anytime you can go up, you have to look forward to the down eventually.